curious, and this is a conversation we've never had with everyone here, is that um, how did we as individuals get to this point where we developed this global consciousness?
I personally think it's different in everyone's life. You have people around you that you listen to, and you hook onto that. Some others might have a book, some others might meditate, some others might read it. I think there is no general way, so you have to go a lot of ways.
People turning up or whatever. There was 100,000 people on the streets of Dublin. It's the biggest march ever. And it was just started from this seed to this extraordinary feeling of, oh wow, you know, there's a lot of people with similar values here. And because this was even prior to like social media connecting in the way that you would now, you know, so it was like by word of mouth in that regard, but we were totally disregarded, we were totally ignored. I mean, it was a democratic expression, but we were totally ignored by the political system. And to me at that stage, it was a kind of a real wake-up call as regards what power was, and really what ruled the day was inward investment into Ireland, so that our proportion of foreign direct investment, the argument was, would be deleteriously impacted on if we made this call, which I don't believe actually it would have been, but that was the call and that was the policy.
For me, I didn't really come at this. I'd never been into all the sort of campaigning and this and that, but I've always just had a feeling that things just were stupid, really, and had the luxury of like traveling quite a lot, especially as a youngster, and you see other cultures and you see the way things are. And I always remember, my mum's from South Africa, and I always remember the first time I drove from Cape Town Airport to Hout Bay where my auntie lived, and going past all the townships and just going like, what? Why? You know, and that just always got me very frustrated about like how things were badly organized. And Simpol's one of those things that intellectually kind of gripped me more than anything else, I would say.
I mean, I lived in 3 countries before I was 5. And so there's always that sense of, you know, what it meant to be moving from one to another and experiencing different cultures and adjusting to different cultures. That was important. And then for many years I didn't travel, and now I travel massively. So that's, I think, really oriented my mind to Simpol as well. But the other thing for me that happened was I remember as a child sitting in church, the sense that this isn't big enough. Whatever I was being told wasn't big enough. That this can't possibly be the right answer. You know, that, I mean, right answer, but it has to be larger. And that was always with me from when I was very young. I think sadly I discovered later, I'm not sure I have the brain for the thinking about the size of what really is, but I can feel it.
I think from I was a very little girl, I had this feeling of inclusion, freed, and I had this experience that when I had to choose between my mom and dad when they were divorcing, and just the thing that I chose between my mother and father was a violation in me, because I think I have always had this feeling of I wanted to include everyone. I am the biggest sister also, but there's something like that, and I think that was where my journey started, in separating from a lot of things. And I have always had this feeling of being wrong, because I was able to see the many perspectives, you know, and then the first time I had this feeling, my goodness, maybe I'm not the person who is wrong. That was when I met the integral theory. And then simultaneous policy was just the mind-blowing. This is where I want to contribute, because it is so inclusive. So
for me, it's quite different. For me, it's just purely sort of cognitive, intellectually. That's what gripped me. Yeah, I read the book. I was into some sort of similar topics on YouTube. And then yeah, it all just made a lot of sense, and I really didn't see any good alternative. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I haven't had one of those like spiritual eye-opening experience of oneness or anything of that sort. And all this, like, I'm into all these YouTube things where they talk about like selflessness and egolessness and all kind of. I agree, but I still, my ego is still there, you know. So.
And then the final thing for me was about my age, and there is something that happens in aging that is about legacy. And I think you look for where you can create a legacy. And
global governance is a condition for the possibility of bringing all those other pieces together in terms of the social justice issues, the poverty, the inequality, and all the bloody suffering that really gets you at a certain point of where it can bring you into all levels of despair in terms of that, and working through all of that and coming out the other end, I think, with a sense of vitality, to be honest, and where to put your energies effectively.